Welcome, everybody. Welcome to race 15 of the FAI World Series. Tonight, the race is in New Zealand, and I am with Nick to comment the race. Hi, Nick.
G'day, how are you?
I'm very fine, and you?
Yeah, not too bad, Jean-Luc. David?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here for this race tonight. So we are at the other opposite of the world compared to the previous races, and we are in New Zealand tonight. So we will be in Condor in a few minutes. And just for the information, Nick, have you ever flown in New Zealand, or do you know some people who've flown there?
I've had probably half a dozen flights from Marama, some in waves, some in thermals, all in a two-seater with a friend over there. And I've done a lot of flying with the paraglider, but that's all been in the mountains. I usually avoid the flats as much as I can.
Yeah. So to remember the viewers, so you are a paraglider pilot, exactly?
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah, used to be. Okay, so we will discover the race in a few minutes and the weathers too. So tonight the race will be okay. So now we are over Omarama, which is the airfield we are starting from. So the pilots are already in flight tonight. They started already in flight. So we can see some communities, some ridges. Where are we in New Zealand, Nick? If you know, we are on north, center, or south?
So basically, the Southern Alps are in the South Island. It's the biggest island, and they run along the whole length of the island, and they're more or less on the west side. And Marama is in the rain shadow of that. It's in the east, so it's a fairly dry part of the country. It's relatively far inland, although there's a valley which runs out to the east coast, which can bring in, more sort of coastal air mass there. And there's hills to all directions basically, but the main range is to the west. And the task today is getting us out into the bigger mountains, so that's good.
Yeah, so in New Zealand, I suppose that the landscape is a bit different from the other country because you have the ocean near to the mountains, and it can generate very, I think, specific weather conditions because you have a lot of moisture from the ocean pushing on the mountains. Does it create a lot of clouds?
Yeah, generally all the weather is, well, not all the weather, but a lot of the weather is coming from the west. It's mid-latitude, so it's around 45 degrees south, similar to Europe. And you get your fronts, the nor'wester is the famous prefrontal wind. So that's hitting the mountains directly, and that gives you wave conditions. And then, like where we are in Marama, it's quite dry sort of sheep country, although there's a lot of irrigation with cow paddocks because of those big lakes. They do a lot of irrigation there. But yeah, a lot of the times you're flying there and everything west of the divide is just a sea of cloud with all the moisture pushing up against the ranges. So you have much better flying conditions to the east of the divide normally.
Yeah.
And because like you can see those lakes, they're all glacial valleys that are carved out really wide. Like a lot of the valleys are quite flat at the bottom of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to be a country where the mountains are, they're reasonably big, and they're quite glaciated compared to Europe, given how they're not so high, like 2,000 meters typically.
Okay.
But yeah, because there's a lot of moisture, you get a lot of glaciation. But because the mountains aren't like as big as the Alps, and the winds can be relatively strong some of the time, you tend to get a bit more of a mix of influences. Like sometimes it's going to be different every day. It's not like the mountains that dominate the weather and they sort of draw in the valley winds no matter what. Sometimes you have winds blowing down the valleys or whatever. So
Yeah, it looks pretty tricky and pretty different from the other regions. So you need to be very aware of the situations right here to fly safe, I think. So thank you, Tim, for this view. We have the task set it for today. As you said, we are on the main island, approximately in the middle of it for the starting airfield. And the first leg is going to the west, directly to a turn point named Bendigo. We have a 64 kilometers leg, so to the west. Then the pilots will turn right.
Sorry, that's actually not Bendigo. Bendigo was the practice task, but
Okay.
yeah, it's called L305, like it's a landing out there, but it's actually basically Makarora is that one out to the west.
Okay, thank you. I've corrected the file, and I have two tasks opened, so I corrected. So next we will turn to the right, going north to Dobson. Is it correct?
That's right. That's at the head of the Dobson River, and that's basically following the main divide. Like the water on the west goes to the west coast, on the east coast to the east coast.
So we have 83 kilometers long leg to turn point 2, and then we are going straight to the south, going to turn point 3, which is named Sante Bata, for 120 kilometers long leg. And at the end,
St. Bathans. And the range just to the north and northwest of it is the St. Bathans Range. That's a pretty famous one. I mean, it's just a landmark that you often see. Like it's a well-known kind of landmark, the St. Bathans Range.
Okay, I hope you will tell me all of these things during the race when we will see it, because I will be a tourist tonight because I've never flown there, and we will discover this together. And finally, we will go back to the airfield to reporting points. We have the final leg of 43 kilometers, and then just 5 kilometers to the airfield to go back in the direction of the airfield. All right, so we are back in Condor with all the pilots. Maybe Tim, in a few minutes you can tell us how many pilots are connected tonight. 50 pilots are tonight with us to fly in New Zealand. So yeah, the weather now, maybe we can have a look.
I think that's a pretty busy day for Amarama, having 50 pilots there.
Yeah, that's why we do not take off with Naruto or something like that, because it will take so much long to put all the pilots in flight. So everybody in flight at the beginning, it's better. So tonight the wind come from the west with a speed of 17 kilometers per hour. For the thermal activity, the strength of the thermal, will be quite weak. So with the wind pushing from the west, as you said, we expect some ridge flying, I guess, because we saw with the map that they are well aligned for some of the legs. So maybe we will see this type of flying. And the cloud base is estimated about 2,300 meters. So with this type of meteorological condition, do you expect a fast race, or will it be long?
Well, apparently everyone's flying the very fast gliders, and when they told me how long they thought the task would take, I was like, oh wow, that sounds pretty fast. I don't know if they get conditions like that in real life. And like apparently with Condor, you get basically the same conditions everywhere. Like New Zealand is typical for having different air masses in different places. Like in the last few weeks, the friend I flew with there, he had flights where he just turned on the motor and crossed the valley into the high mountains because he was spending too much time scratching around in the weak conditions around the Marama, and it was much better if he got to the mountains. Mm-hmm. So here it looks like there's puffy cumulus everywhere. So yeah, it might not be totally like that in real life, but hey, it's a game, and yeah, there's a lot of advantages to that, I suppose.
Yeah, with tonight. So the tonight's race will be in open class. Looks everybody will take, as you said, the EB29R. And we do not have some restriction about the water ballasts. So maybe they will fly full ballast and fly very fast along the along the ridges. So as you said, it should be a very, very fast race. We expect 1 hour and 30 minutes to 1 hour and 45 minutes approximately. And the race will start in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'd had about 5 years paragliding experience, and I came to New Zealand every summer basically. Before I did my first gliding flight here, and I remember we were in the glider and we flew through some lift, and I'm like, "What? Why isn't he turning? Like, what? Why is he going through that?" And yeah, I realised it's a different kind of game where you don't have to stop for every bit of lift, and you can just push along and take the nice lines, and hopefully not have to turn much at all.
Yeah, I guess. Right now the pilots looks quite high. They are reaching an altitude of 2,900 meters, so they have to go a bit down to cross the start line, because we can see the start just behind Mikhail Yankov here, and the start line is a bit lower than this position, so they need to manage their energy very well, because the maximum speed is ground speed 170 kilometers per hour. And with the AB29, I guess, because I've never flown it, this start point speed can be reached very, very fast. What a beautiful glider. Have you ever flown in an AB29?
No, I'm not even sure if I have seen one, to be honest. I mean, they look pretty skinny wings. Where are they made?
Exactly.
Are they German or?
Yeah, they are German. Titev Jean-Noël, French pilot, managed to fly very, very well yesterday during the training session. He managed to be 5, I guess, on the ranking. Just checking that. No, sorry, he was 14, but it's quite good. They've flown very, very fast. They've flown about 180 kilometers per hour for the first pilots, to 174 for Witold Rozak and the others, so quite fast. And tonight the weather conditions are quite the same.
You can see how it's dry sheep country around here. Like, there's not a lot of trees. As you get closer to the main divide where there's more rainfall, you get a lot more forests, beech forest. But here it's pretty dry. Like, it's called tussock, like clumps of grass basically. And you can see some of the irrigated fields below, like they're drawing off those lakes. A lot of that is relatively recent, like, I don't know, the last decade or two, I suppose.
Yeah, I can see with the landscape that outlanding should be not that easy. Because the down of the valley is we have some lakes over there, mountains are quite everywhere, so you have to be well organized to not put yourself in danger. And
yeah, the guy I've flown with in New Zealand, he's basically written the outlanding book and he's memorized all the landings and he knows all about them, but he flies pretty carefully and he doesn't actually have to use the outlandings himself, but he at least knows where they are. I think that helps a lot when you're flying, if you can be confident and you don't have to think about landing because you already know where it is and you don't have to stress about it.
Okay, so we are now approximately 1 minute to the start. Some pilots are joining the right side of the start line, just a few seconds before opening it. So tonight is a regatta start. So when the gate is open, all the pilots can cross it to start the race. But it's a racing scoring. So the points are not given like a Grand Prix, it's just racing points. We are 30 seconds from the start. All the pilots are lined.
And what's the starting height?
The start height, I don't have right here. I will tell you in a few minutes, just after the start.
Maybe 5,000 feet-ish, yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. race is on now. Okay, so we have 3 main strategies from now: a group on the left, a middle group, and a few pilots on the right. And a lot of pilots have crossed the start line. Let's go for 317 kilometers of racing in New Zealand. Okay, so yes, thank you, team. Maybe just can you show us the weather straight to turn point 1? In that way we can have a look. Okay. Yeah, we might have an idea about why the different pilots choose their strategy, because we have a small cumulus on the left. That's why all the gaggles on the left is interesting, but just a small cumulus right after the start line is taken by Tim Madsen, TKM, Uwe Melzer, and a lot of pilots are flying a bit left. I can see Donna Pierluigi, Marcin May, Thomas Meyer, Vitold, Jarnen,
Pull up.
Arne Martin. And not this one. I think that they had the time to explore the region after the start line, so they know where to find a great thermal to get the altitude they had just before the start. Right here they can double their altitude. Oh, but are they going to do that? Is it interesting to gain and to double your altitude looking at the ridges you have in front of you? I don't know.
So this is the crossing that my friend motored across to get out of the weak conditions around the airfield. And yeah, the sky does look a little bit unrealistic to me, just because Cloudbase is really high everywhere. Because like basically it's a maritime air mass. It doesn't have like a whole Europe to heat up over and dry out. So
yeah,
you can get high cloud bases, but usually not over the whole island like that. And high as 3,000 meters. So, yeah.
Yeah, you are totally right. The only experience I have with flying glider in New Zealand is watching the pure gliding videos. So I know what you are talking a bit, because in some of this video, we can see that the moisture and the air mass is not that perfect. We have a lot of clouds way below, and when he's flying on the wave, he oftenly overpasses the different clouds and he's above it. You have to manage airspaces and etc. It looks very different from this. We can say that it's a very, very good day in New Zealand to fly. That's why we have 50 pilots tonight. They all need to fly this.
Yep. So this is the Ahuriri River that they're sort of flying besides. And the mountain on in the back there on the left is Magic Mountain. That's a place where hang gliders have been flying for years, and it can be a little bit different, the MS in there. Like, it's not really the bigger mountains, but it can be a better place to start than the local hill to Marama right next to it, which I don't know if anyone used today. That's called Horrible.
Okay, so maybe Tim, you can show us a 2D view. In that way, we can have a small idea of where are they going. Okay, so turn point 1 is on your left of the screen right now. And some pilots are jumping into the mountains, but the mountains are not perfectly aligned with the track. So Yeah, it could be interesting to follow the ridges and making some turns to follow them and going straight to turn point 1, or you can wait because there is a small group who climb slowly but surely just after the start line, maybe gaining a lot of altitude and crossing all these ridges in one way. Because when you arrived at turn point 1, if you can unzoom a bit, Tim, when you arrive at turn point 1, in fact, if you just go over the ridges at turn point 1, you can follow them to turn point 2, and maybe it's a good idea because well, we can see a lot of good ridges to turn point 2 if the wind is coming from the west. The ridges are well aligned.
So the hill just to the north of them on the course line is Magic. That's a hang gliding place with a lot of history, and it can often be pretty dry, dust devils, that kind of thing there. And then further on the course line, there's basically that area is around Timaru Creek is one of the driest areas of New Zealand, and it's where you might get convergence, like from the west and the east kind of thing. It's more or less the middle of the island, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my big paragliding flights, so I finished the day around there.
Okay, thank you, Tim, for this 2D view. I am thrilled to see the landscape because the landscape of New Zealand is very, very well designed and well drawn. It's magic to see all these hills, and I look forward to see the different lakes. Okay, so Martin, okay, he's climbing, but just a bit earlier than the others. So I repeat it all the time, but the value we can see here is instant value. So we have to do the math in our head to compute the average value, and it's not compensated. So it's the total instant value.
Yeah, you're mostly talking about the Vario climb rate there, aren't you? So
yeah,
it can be then pulling up dynamically plus the whatever the MS is doing.
Yeah, and with the amount of energy of the EB29, I think when you pull, we can see very, very interesting value values, just unrealistic.
Sure.
That's the math, that the total instant value. So the mountain looks quite good to climb, but a lot of yes, thank you, Tim. I was asking myself what is the altitude of the pilot at the back. So Stewart Henshaw, the British pilots, reaching 2,800 meters. That's unlucky to not have the value values or the average value values during the last thermal, because right here we could have an idea of what he climbed. Stewart, maybe the climb was very great and he had the time to join the other pilots in front of him. So no time lost on searching thermal, just joining the others. But looks like the climbs are well, and it's not so difficult to find a good one.
Especially if there's a lot of pilots ahead of you marking them, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so even if it's instant value, we have seen 8 meters per second. That's quite impressive. And GS1 21 meters. Not a lot of them, but there is one. Very, very offensive strategy. He flew straight to turn point 1. Maybe it's time to unlock the autopilot and trying to find something, because you have on
Pretty low, yeah.
yeah, and in this region the wind is, you are downwind from the valleys, so from the hills, sorry. So
Yep.
you can face a lot of downwind, a lot of negative variometers. We will see from Almantas.
So later in the day, you'll often get easterly coming in this valley like a sea breeze.
Yeah.
I suppose it is the same direction as the valley wind would be, but it's more of a sea breeze that hits in there. And yeah, the mountains that you could see earlier to the right of that pilot, Barrier Range, that's some of the best, like the driest, most craggy mountains that give the best sort of conditions in New Zealand, I reckon. One of them anyway. But yeah, it's pretty low out there. I remember flying out there last year and looking at the landing field and just getting a feel for the lay of the land, because it's a place that you'll commonly be when you're flying a Mariner. Usually you'll fly out to the west, so yeah, you want to know where the landings are out here.
It will be very interesting to follow these pilots if they have another strategy in mind. Maybe they will impress us. Oh yeah, they have very different strategies. Led by Alex, I guess. They took a very southern strategy. Can you guess what is the strategy right here? Because I don't have any idea. Maybe they are looking to grab some hills to turn point one, but yeah,
those southern pilots are heading towards Lindis Pass. So basically the main road in the South Island that goes between the main centres, it runs over the Lindis Pass. That's kind of the high point. I don't remember how high it is, but not much more than 1,000 metres. But you could get a slightly different air mass on the other side, but I know that's not really accounted for in Condor anyway. But there's a lot of hills around there, and it's a place. Well, it's a good place to fly. Less landings, but yeah, it does seem like it's quite a long way off course line. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope it pays, because it's a really long way compared to the straights way to turn point one. We will see if they manage to gain they gain enough time to compensate the lack in the average speed. And all the pilots are now grouped into the hills. Some on the left, some on the right. We are approximately halfway to turn point one. So just 30 kilometers, so 10% of the race approximately. Critter Almantas quite low with a GS1.
Oh wow, under 1,000.
It starts to look bad. Okay, so now looking with a great overview with Tim Madsen right here. Okay, so Tim Madsen and the others behind him are following, looks they are following an energy line. We can see that some cumuluses are aligned to turn point one, aligned with the wind. GAM, and I think it's Bigon 188 going to turn point one also. I forgot something very important, because I don't have a look at the commentaries on Twitch and YouTube. I'm sorry for the viewers. I rush it to see if we have some messages. Okay, so for everyone, if you are looking at this stream, we are now in the first leg of the race 15 of the World Series. We are in New Zealand for a 317 kilometers race. So do not forget to send us a message on Twitch or on YouTube, just to encourage your favorite pilot, just to say hello, or just to give us ideas of what the pilots are doing. Send us a message. You are 10 on Twitch and you are 11 on YouTube, so maybe just one hello per person is already good. So yeah, please enjoy the stream tonight. It's a fantastic race in a fantastic landscape in New Zealand right now. Flying 215 kilometers per hour with the EB29 Inigo Redin at 2,000 meters. Yeah, so the average speeds are quite good, but we expect better ones. They stopped a lot compared to the distance they've flown right now. So an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Good for some pilots and good for some club class glider, but for an EB29, we can expect better.
Yep.
So we have
Yeah, they're coming up to like where the scenery changes to be less sort of rounded, rolling tussocky hills to more mountainous landscapes. Still a little way to the divide, but yeah, the scenery changes quite quickly in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, and tonight I don't think we are flying to the sea. I don't know if we will be able to see it or not. It depends on the fog and things like that. Maybe, I don't know. But I guess that the east part of the New Zealand is way flatter, and we can see that there is the ocean on the background. So not on this image, but okay, not on this image because it's just a lake. But on some landscape we can see the sea, and it should be a very different landscape one more time.
All that forest there is the Dingleburn, and I've done a walk up that. I walked the whole length of that with my paraglider on my back. And there's not a lot of landings. I think there's one dubious landing for gliders somewhere in the middle, but it's pretty sketchy. So there's some places where it's not so bad for landings, and there's other places where you've got to be a bit careful.
Yeah, Michel Bigan, 188, Tim Madsen, TKM. They are leading the race right now. And we can see Alex on the background doing his own way. Okay, so on the southern option, Alex and November Yankee seemed they didn't stop a lot. I guess they went quite straight to 10.1. The other pilots are flying grouped in the middle on the track, taking some thermals to reach 10.1. We didn't see a lot of ridge flying. Maybe the other pilots like KMI or Victor 11 are struggling a bit because they turned not to 10.1 but in the other direction. And
what happened to 9A in the north? Are they still flying? Or are they pretty low in the Hariri?
He's still flying. I can see him moving on the map. I guess he's at
770 meters, it says on the right. That's pretty low.
We'll see. Don't know what he will do because I guess that the ground is going higher and higher as long as he's flying to this valley. So
not by much, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he's skipping the turn point and going straight to the north.
We'll see. Sometimes they are doing their own flight, not flying the task.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the middle gaggle with all the pilots: Thomas Mayer, Jan Meriting, Arne Martin, and I can't see the other names right now, but seems like the other pilots following are reaching this gaggle. Oh man, when you join this thermal, you have to be prepared, and I hope you have a very VAR headset, because there is a lot of pilots.
Definitely.
That's quite artistic.
Yeah,
That's art.
multicolored rainbow.
Yeah, very interesting, and the VAR values are great. That's why they stopped. Michel Bigon and TKM, yes, leader of this race right now. They are flying just next to a lake. Do you know what is the lake name? I don't have it on the map.
That's Lake Hawea.
Okay.
So the Hawea Township is at the far end of the lake on the left there. And you can see how there's like that fan of gravel, like from that Krieg's brought out. I remember that from real life.
That's quite impressive. I'm pretty impressed by the landscape. We can see that the lake didn't let a lot of place of flat land right here. The mountains and the hills are drowning to the lake. He's filling everything.
And behind you at the head of Lake Hawea is the Hunter River. That's a really, really long one in New Zealand. Like in a straight line from there to Hawea, it's the township. It's maybe 100 k's or so.
Already a great flight in paraglider. Should be very interesting to do. So we can see a bit of wave clouds in the sky, but they are not a lot higher than the cumuluses, so I don't know if they will try to find it or not. In Chile, they managed to fly in the wave, and they arrived with 1,000 meters higher than the safety altitude. There were too much energy. It was amazing to see. I didn't saw pilots arriving with 1,000 meters too high. It was just unbelievable.
So in Condor, is it possible to fly faster than VNE? Like, would you get penalized if you did that, or is it just impossible?
No, that's just impossible, because you will have some flutter next to the VNE, and at VNE your wing will crash, and you will lose one of them or both of them if you are a real champion. But you will lose your wings, and after that it's done. You just have to pull your parachute, and that's it.
Sure, but does Condor let you do it? Like, do you have to control your speed, or do you just push it all the way and it just takes you to VNE kind of thing?
You have to manage your speed. If you are pushing, the speed will increase, and you will reach VNE, and your glider will crash. Just as not just as the real world, because in real world the VNE is computed regarding the flutter speed. So when you are doing the test flight, you reach the flutter, and then you put a safety margin to have your VNE. So theoretically, you shouldn't have flutter when you reach VNE with the glider, because there is a safety margin. But this is not an advice. Please fly safe. Do not reach VNE just to compare what I've said. Just for fun.
Yeah, I was just wondering how they did it in Condor, because they could have a safety margin in there too, but maybe it's best not to have one, so they don't give people bad habits.
Exactly. Knowing the pilots and knowing how fast they can fly, if there is 1 kilometers per hour to take, they will take it. So it shouldn't be safe. And the speed depends. The VNE depends, and the flutter speed depends on the water ballasting and there is a lot of interaction with this behavior.
So this crossing they're just doing now, I've done this in a paraglider before. and it's been on a day where it's looked good and I wanted to have a big day, but you lose quite a bit of height on the crossing with the paraglide. And I've got to the other side and I've spent so long trying to get back up again, just hunting around, scratching around, trying to find a thermal. It's been a long time on the same spot on the ridge kind of thing, or in a small area. I don't think they'll have that problem now.
I trying to find the pilots. Where is GH? Oh, okay, I have Stewart and Shaw. Okay, so they are. Sorry, I was a bit. Thank you, team. I was a bit lost, but in fact, GHK, Stewart, and CW1 are leading the race. They are reaching the different ridges after Lake Hawea. Is that how we pronounce it?
Correct.
Okay, it's okay.
Hawea. Hawea.
Yeah, I've seen it on the map, but I wasn't sure about the pronunciation. So they are reaching the first ridges. So the wind is coming from the west, so it shouldn't give a lot of energy because the mountain is quite oriented just as the wind. But it seems that they had a great values, just flying to turn point 1, and then we will see what will happen. Okay, some pilots had to stop, like KMI, V11 or Juliet Tango. Some pilots are doing their own flights. We are thinking about 9A in north. We have Alex and November Yankee in the south. In fact, the path they took was longer than the middle one, because Stewart and Charles and the other are reaching turn point 1 right now.
9A is at the same height, so I don't know if they're just hanging on or if something's happened.
When you see the cross next to his name, means like he's not climbing, he's not going down, so it should be he's on ground right now.
Oh, okay.
And 007, maybe, I don't know if he's flying, maybe just he disconnect or something like that, but he's not flying with us because there is a cross. So Stewart and Shaw at 230 kilometers per hour. He has 5 kilometers to go to turn point 1. And Charlie Whiskey 1 is just next to him, followed.
Is he going to have to pull up to get over that pass? Looks pretty close.
I would prefer being Charlie Whiskey 1 than Stewart right now, but it's okay with an EB29. He has the right amount of energy to go over this hill. And now I think they will go straight to turn point, turning it, going back to the hill, which is well orientated to go to turn point 2. Connor Williams from United Kingdom, just as Stewart, the British team leading the race right now. Okay.
So there's farms below them, but on the other side of the river is a national park where there's, it's fairly untouched. There's a few mountain huts for hikers, but not much else.
And Connor Stewart turns the first turn point of this race. In the first position, the two British pilots going straight to turn point 2. Followed by Vitold, Marcin, I can't see the rest names, but Oscar 9, Juliet Alpha Zulu. So Frank in Oscar 9. And Januzak from Poland in Juliet Alpha Zulu. A lot of pilots arrived at quite the same altitude on turn point 1. Maybe the same strategy to have just enough to go through the hills safely, and now straight to the hills. One more time, it's unlucky that we don't have the average value per leg, because it would be very interesting to see the difference between the first one, where they need to climb after crossing start line, and they climb in thermal, and in this second leg, I guess it will be a straight line to turn point 2 following the hills, and the average speed will be way higher. Maybe Tim, you can show us the average speed right now, just after turn point 1. We will have an idea of how it's going faster and faster. So 140 kilometers per hour, 38 to be precise. So we have Stewart, Connor, Witold, Frank. Yeah, the paths are quite the same. You can see that the decision are quite the same too. So maybe, Tim, we can go to the 2D view, because we are following a river, I guess. Maybe Nick, you can tell us a bit more about the way to turn
Sure.
point 2, what we will see.
So the turn point is at Makarora, the head of Lake Wanaka, and the river is the Makarora River. And the main divide is, well, basically they'll be following the main divide for the second part of this leg there, starting now. And yeah, it's a great place to fly. You've got Mount Brewster off to the left, which is a glaciated mountain with the narrow gap with the winds that can go one way or the other from the west coast. You can see the Makarora River there on relatively low, flowing all the way through to the Haas River that goes out to the west coast. And yeah, so a lot of wind can blow through there one way or the other. And it's also where the only road goes on this half of the island. Well, the next one is Milford, a long way south, and the next one north is Arthur's Pass, which is a long way north. So yeah, the river to the west of them on the second part of this leg is one of the most sort of remote areas of New Zealand. Like there's a trip you can do with a pack raft, like climbing over a pass and paddling down that one, and that's like a 4 or 5 day adventure. So I never got to do that one, but yeah, it's pretty remote country and really beautiful. The second part of the leg in particular, because it's just wild, remote country. Like there's the first part of the task has been lots of farms and developed areas, irrigated areas, but the northern part of this task is just mountains that are basically been the same way for more or less for thousands of years. So. No ski fields on those mountains.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah,
typically, like just to the west of the course line, like the west of the divide, you'll very often have cloud banked up like an ocean of cloud on the west side, and it's a very different air mass, but we won't see that today, and the task doesn't go over there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's a typical view. You'll see like a sea of cloud maybe spilling over the passes a little bit from the west.
Okay, thank you, Nick, for all these informations. They are very appreciated because you make me discover the region and New Zealand. So in the chat, we have a message from Ceratoidex, say hello from Argentina, and we have Julien Lieta, hello to you all, beautiful landscape and great start from TKM. So in the different chats, if you have any question about the landscape, the region, the race, do not hesitate to ask us any information you would like to know. It's always a pleasure to interact with you. And yeah, back to the race. So yeah, as we said right here, it's just going straight to turn point 2, following the different ridges.
Yeah, so they're going slightly to the left of the course line now, I believe. It was
Yep.
Mount Brewster there in the back. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah, we can see it.
you could do one or the other, but it looks like everyone's gone for the left this time. But yeah, you might go either way in real life, I would say. But yeah, on the north side of Mount Brewster, it drops away to the west coast.
Yeah, and the idea you said just a few minutes, I think that Tim is going to do it, Tim Madsen. He went on the right, and maybe we jump over the hills to jump to the other ridge just behind it, because right here the group on the left will go a bit west than the track, and if Tim managed to push and to fly over the hills we have on our right, maybe he managed to fly to the other line of ridges, and he will be able to go to turn point 2 in a faster way or in a straighter way.
So where he is now, where Tim is now, I had a paragliding flight from pretty close to there, like on the slopes once, and it was basically showers. It was just starting to rain, and I had to take off and pop through the pass, and the wind was coming from the left, and basically I escaped the weather, and it was pretty windy conditions, like not the conditions you'd normally fly a paraglider in, but yeah, every 5 kilometers that I went downwind, the scenery was changing so much, like the vegetation changes a lot because you got a big difference in rainfall as you go further from the mountains in the west.
Okay, and a question is coming, because what do you do when we are facing rain in paragliding? Because in glider the rain just push on our wings. The performance of the glider are lower, but in paragliding, is it the same, or is it very, very difficult or very dangerous to fly in rain because your wing will be wet?
It depends a bit on the glider, how it handles being wet, but generally it's bad. Like I would not mind flying through a light shower. If the shower is so light that you can't really see it from a distance, it's probably okay. A few drops is fine. I think if you can fly and it will dry as you fly, then it's okay. But yeah, you don't want to get the wing wet, and it's possible that the water can go into the wing and make it heavier, and yeah, it just flies like a dog then. So it's not really good. No.
Yeah, I guess it's worse than in glider.
Yeah, you want to make sure you don't fly too slow, because you might stall it, and then yeah, the wing, if it's heavy, it might not reinflate the way it's supposed to and the way it's been tested. So yeah, I can't give you that much information because I usually don't do it. I've had like small showers, just the edge, but I've never flown in showers that are wet enough to get you properly wet, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, but I think that there is difficult to ask to someone who ever did it. So I was asking.
Yeah. Everyone takes things a bit different, but yeah, that's not something I like to do.
So we have a message on the YouTube chat. How is the Polish gang? So the Polish gang is the few famous pilots from Poland, So not Stewart and Shaw team, but we have I think that Marcin May is just on top of us. Marcin May and Vitold are 2 and 3rd right now on the. Yeah, thank you, team Vitold and Marcin May are here. I think that Janus is just behind too. And for the other Mike to Kilo, I have to see where he is. But at least 3 pilots of the Polish gang are well placed in this race in the first gaggle. They are flying fast, 150 kilometers per hour along the hills. Michail Knos, KMI, back on track. So Michail Knos from Hungary, Janus from Poland, following the leaders. So the Polish gang is well. Piotr is following too. We have 2 French pilots ahead, 3 French pilots, because I didn't see Donna Pierluigi. In the gaggle, we have Emmanuel Cartier and Michel Bigan. Franck, Oscar 9, Arne Martin Gettler, the reigning world champion.
He's got minus 24 meters a second. He must be pushing.
Yeah, I thought that. I think at this type of vario, your instruments will just crash to minus 20. Your vario will go so down.
You'll bend the knob.
Yeah. So the Polish gang is going well. And maybe team in the backstage, can you show us where is Tim Madsen? Because Tim Madsen took another pass to turn point 2. And just as expected.
I'm quite surprised at how low everyone's flying. Like, I thought there would be more energy like on top of the ridges, and they're really flying halfway down them. So, maybe it works, and in competitions, people always discover new things, but I don't know how typical that is for people to be flying that low in that area.
Yeah, I guess that when you are in real life, you are trying to catch the upper part of the mountain to gain some safety.
And also the conditions will be better there. Like, yeah. Also, the other thing that I would do, apparently Condor 2 doesn't have the MS differentiation, but you're probably going to have a lot better MS on the east side rather than the west side. So that's another reason to stay on top, because if you're in the west side, you're in a much poorer MS, often anyway. I mean, if it's westerly. If it's a southerly day, you might have it clear conditions out that way, but yeah. I'm getting distracted by thinking about real life.
Can you repeat?
Oh, I'm just getting distracted by thinking about real life.
Yeah. I think that I am thinking about why they are flying solo, but I don't have an idea. They are knowing Condor 2 better than the 2 of us, I think, and they know that this part of the mountain is great to fly, or maybe they are betting on a better condition in the second part of the hill. We will see in a few minutes.
Yeah, to me, this valley is one of the most remotest ones in New Zealand, so it's probably not the first place I'd pick to be pushing hard and low. But there is flats, I suppose. There's places to land, and I guess they've got motors in the back as well. So yeah. But what are they doing? Are they just trying to get bits of ridge lift as they go along and pulling up, or because they haven't really thermaled in quite a while, have they?
No. I guess that the wind is strong enough to maintain their altitude at approximately the same level. Oh, thank you, Tim, for this very interesting view, because we can see the strips, and yeah, they are quite at the same altitude all along the way from turn point 1 to turn point 2. It seemed that the option taken by Team TKM on the back was a bit longer, because now we have to climb to join the others on the other way of the hill compared to the others. The decision led by Vitold Rosak right now to follow it, staying approximately at the same altitude.
So they're basically ridge soaring, but they're quite a long way from the terrain.
Yeah, I agree with you. I expected that they were a bit closer to the mountains. I don't know why. Maybe there is a movement, a global movement of the air mass that allow us to fly a bit further from the ridge. I don't know if they will try to catch up the wave, because we can see that we have some wave clouds just over there.
Mm-hmm.
Are we in the highest part of the New Zealand?
So the ridge they're flying is the main divide. It's east where the rain falls. It goes to the coast on the east or the west side of the main divide. And yeah, it's basically a ridge that runs most of the way to the next turn point, isn't it? So, yep. It's the main divide is usually the highest divide, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more or less.
Wojciech in the chat saying, great, thank you, finger crossed for all the pilots of the course. Thank you. Greetings from Poland. Thank you, Wojciech. We expect you in the next races. See you how well you fly. Okay. So the distance flown right now is approximately 130 kilometers per hour. We are in the second leg, which is 83 kilometers long, and when we had the 64 kilometers just before, we have 147 kilometers at the end of turn point 2. So we have 17 kilometers to fly. And as you said, it's quite interesting. Jan and Frank, as well as Tamas and the other, are quite low.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
this
they'll have to get a little bit higher to cross back to the next turn point somehow.
Yeah. And we are flying to Dobson. Maybe, Tim, you can show us a bit the 2D view before reaching turn point 2, because we can look at the strategies. Okay, so thank you, Tim. We are on the second leg to turn point 2. A lot of pilots follow the ridge from turn point 1 to turn point 2. The most obvious one. Just a few pilots like TKM are trying another strategy, reaching other ridges, maybe more straight at the end, but it looks a bit longer. Right now, Frank in Oscar 9 is reaching turn point 2. Maybe you can zoom a bit on turn point 2 to see, because when they will arrive at turn point 2, will they be high enough to turn the turn point, or will they need to climb a bit? We will see. We will see, because right here it would be a great thing to be able to join the mountains on the right. We have approximately 3 hills right now, and it would be very interesting to join the right one or the middle one, just turning the turn point 2. So yeah, we are a bit impressed of the low altitude they are flying. We will see. Maybe it's a key moment of the race, because the following pilots may arrive a bit higher and taking the turn point easier, flying straight to turn point 3 in a better condition. We will see.
So to the north of the Dobson turn point is Mount Cook, and around that there's this big box where it's a mandatory broadcast zone. So you have to get on the airband radio and broadcast your position. And like on a good day, the gliders will be taking over that channel. Like it's basically a lot of like tourism, helicopter operators, and scenic flights around Mount Cook, plus glider pilots, plus any paragliders that wanted to fly in that box. But yeah, I'd say the channel would be getting pretty busy with a comp like this, with so many people flying into the box just now.
Yeah, for sure. When you don't know a lot of things about New Zealand, you know at least Mount Cook. So I think that's why there are a lot of tourists right there. Just to be sure, we can see it on the background of the screen, on the left, on the background. Is it correct?
It does look like it could be, especially like that sort of black pyramid to the right of it could be like the low peak of Mount Cook. It does kind of look similar. In real life, it's usually pretty unmistakable. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
This is a key point. You can't miss it.
It's
Okay.
in some ways it's similar to Mont Blanc. How it sticks out.
Yeah. It may be a key moment of the race, because we can see that they are all flying about 1,800 meters, or
Wow.
a bit above, but they are facing a wall of hills, a wall of mountains, and they need to go off them, because we can see that the turn point 2 is just after the mountains right here.
Uh-huh.
We will see if they are flying a bit lower. You can see that the speed is reduced at 120 kilometers per hour. So maybe it's time to climb a bit. Yeah, way lower speed.
There's quite a lot of snow on that satellite imagery, but I guess it depends what time of year they took the photo there.
Yeah, I guess. I think that we don't have this information in the landscape, even if the files, I didn't watch it, but I guess it's hit. Maybe in the comments, if you are an expert of landscape, and I know they are experts of landscapes, can we find the informations about the photogrammetry data in each landscape, from where all these pictures are taken or not? I actually don't know. Maybe a nice viewer will tell us.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it was taken at a different time of year to the other imagery. And it's you can see it's fresh snowfall. It's like evenly distributed.
Actually, they didn't struggle a lot to find a great lift.
Mm-hmm.
The hills are way orientated, and Marcin May, I saw Marcin May was high compared to the other. Maybe he stopped a bit earlier. Yeah, 2,500 meters or 400 meters. Maybe we'll be able to cross to 10.2 easier and faster than the others. Okay, Emmanuel Cartier and Charlie Whiskey 1 and Connor are going hills to hills, just jumping from one to the other. Witold Rozak following Marcin May. Wow, what a great amount of speed, 270 kilometers per hour, Marcin May. And yes, he did it. He crossed the mountain with a great amount of potential energy and kinetic energy, high and fast. So right now, on race 15 of the World Series 2023 in New Zealand, Marcin May is turning turn point 2 in the first position. Great job, Marcin. Great flight. Well managed. Marcin Riege, Mike 2 kilo following. And we have Emmanuel Cartier crossing turn point.
That's a pretty radical turn.
Yeah, very fast. Witold turning 2. And Juliet Alpha Mike have turned the turn point 2. Now, let's go to turn point 3. So we are going to straight to south to San Bata.
Yeah, so that's the Dobson River, and the mountain range they'll be crossing to on the left is the Ben O House.
So we can see that it's written turn point 3 on the background right here, and the ridges we are following here managed to fly us straight to turn point 3. I think the decision here is quite obvious. We'll see what the pilots will do in this leg. Maybe Tim, you can show us the average speed, because we saw it just after turn point 1. We were at 130 and 40 kilometers per hour, and right now 161 kilometers per hour, flying at turn point 2.
So
Wow.
there's no high point they have to cross between here and Amarama, but when they run to St. Bathans, there's some lower passes. I can't remember the name of it, but it's just at the southern end of the Amarama Basin, basically. So they'll have to cross that on the way back to the finish too. So, yeah, I remember the last race in Japan, they were all flying very close to the terrain because they finished on the beach and they only needed to get over the terrain. That's all they needed for their glide, basically. Yeah, it could be a couple of different ways to get back to the finish turn point at the end, but we can talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah, here we can see with the weather to turn point 3, quite easy to make a decision. You have the mountains and you have some cumuluses above them, so you can decide whether to fly straight on the ridges or to fly a bit higher. Marcin May is catching a great energy line, managing to fly approximately at an average value of 0, or at least in the past seconds, not right now. Flying at 200 kilometers per hour. Okay, so we can see with these clouds over there that it may appear a small wave. Maybe Marcin May is trying to find it.
I'm not that experienced with wave, but I would probably think that it's more likely you'll either get it behind the ridge or over the valley than where he's getting it now. But that's where the cloud is, I suppose. So, yeah.
Yeah, the beginning of the wave should, I think that it can start right here because the wind should take the form of the different hills right here, and maybe is on the second or the third push up.
Yeah.
So we see, because he's way higher than the other, so the strategy is not the same, that's for sure. Connor Williams right here, I think he's doing the same strategy than we can see on the previous leg. He's flying not that high to follow exactly the ridges, not to lose it. In that way, you are sure to be at the right place, because if you are just a bit higher, maybe you are just a bit on 2 on the left, on 2 on the right. Here you are following the ridge, so you are sure to be on the right place. But Marcin May, way above it. Maybe he's trying to find the ways, maybe he's just following a line that can give some energy to push you up as long as you are flying straight and fast. Same thing in the comments if you know better than us how the wave is forming in Condor 2, how it is created, and how we can find it for sure. Maybe you can have some explanation about the Marcin May strategy or all the others. Please send us a message on Twitch or YouTube. Feel free to give us your thought. Don Pierluigi pushing. He's now offensive. 289. Wow. Almost 300 kilometers per hour. You want to finish this race fast. Maybe team, you can show us Marcin May just above, and can you show us his track? I don't know if he finds something. Okay, so even if he's higher than the other, he managed to fly approximately straight from the last minute. He didn't lose height. So he had 200 kilometers per hour flying straight. And we can see a lake just in a few kilometers. What
Lake O'Hare.
So how do you pronounce it? Like Hoyo?
Lake O'Hare.
O'Hare.
Yep. So the mountain range on the left is the Ben O House, and that's Lake O'Hare.
So looking at the map, yeah, it looks like the lake is I could say 40% of the first leg. So they are now 20% of the first leg. 210.3, a leg that is 120 kilometers long. And it shouldn't be too difficult to reach. Okay, so maybe 60% of the pilots have turned the turn point 2, and they are all following the same strategy, which is the most obvious. The hills that are going straight to turn point 3 is north to south, and the wind is pushing from the west. So obviously you should find a great energy line following these hills. And that's what we could see looking at the track of all the pilots. Same altitude, 200 kilometers per hour, so great average speed, I guess. So maybe I can have a look at the overall ranking of this competition, because the World Series is a free competition. Everybody can join each race and enjoy with us flying in a different country at each race. But the different scores are added to have an overall ranking. And right now, so without this race in New Zealand, Mihail Knos is the first from Hungary. Then we have David Redman from Australia, and Arne Martin Gettler completes the podium. He is third from Norway. And I will go to the 10 first pilots because we have Witold Rozak, the first Polish pilot, at the fourth place from Poland. Norbert Kist from Hungary is fifth. Jarmo Karjalainen from Finland has a sixth position. Yuki Nagasaki from Japan is 7. Patrick Meda is 8. Marcin May is 9. Sandor Lorintiek from Hungary is 10. So that the overall ranking at this day of the competition. And they've flown a lot of races, 14 races right now. So some pilots are here every time. They've flown each race since the beginning of the year. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here, flying with us, to all the competitors. It's always great to see you, the same name and the same leaders, the same great pilots. Each time I comment, I want to fly with them, but I do not have the time, and I have to comment a lot of time. So yeah, it would be a very great moment to fly, even the training, but I have to spend some time with my family too. So unfortunately, I can't fly with them in different positions of the world. Do you fly Condor, Nick?
I haven't actually flown it before. Yeah, I've never really. I haven't upgraded my computer gear in like over a decade, so I'd have to do that to get myself sorted.
Yeah,
yeah, it's a nice way to familiarize with areas before you go there in real life, to just get a feel for. I spend a lot of time looking at maps, so it's like a more interactive version of doing that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are totally right. Condor is a great tool for a lot of applications. Be familiar with the map is one of them. I am a flight instructor in real life, and before going to Saint-Auban in south of France, which I'm not familiar with, I've trained in Condor with a map on the right, a real map, and the mountains on Condor, and I was okay. This is Auribeau, this is Auton, this is Cheval Blanc. It is okay, 200 meters, and I was flying like in real life with my real map. I didn't wear the hat, but it was just like this. And Condor is a great tool for this. And if you never experienced the multiplayer flying in Condor, I guess you should, because it's very interesting. It's add another dimension to Condor, which I really love. That's how I get into the game during the different lockdown during the COVID period. We organized some competitions, and I discovered flying with other pilots in multiplayer, and it's really great. In addition, when you fly with friends and you can chat along the race, it's even better. So if you can, I invite you to join a race in multiplayer. It's really fun. So maybe back to the race, because the pilot has turned a bit on the left. Maybe Tim, you can show us a 2D view to have an overview right here. Thank you, Tim. And yeah, I think that
I think they call that the Maitland on the left there, and it's definitely a nice place. You can get some pretty. Like, it's a different air mass, basically. You're in the mountains a bit more than out in the flats. It saves them that big crossing, and it might mean they have enough height to glide straight over the little pass that takes them to the next turn point.
Yeah, I think that they faced really great energy lines in the mountains, so they decided to follow them as long as they can to turn point 3. And maybe Tim, you can go a bit south on the map to see what we will face in a few minutes. So in the southern part, it's a bit flatter, but we can expect that they will follow the different ridges to the turn point 3, going a bit left than the straight line to turn point 3. I guess it will be like that because the ridge flying looks very good. So you can fly
Yeah, it
200
leads on
kilometers.
naturally to the St. Bathans Range. So I wonder if they'll even take the same St. Bathans Range on the way back. I think that's what you'd do. You'd take that ranges until you had enough height to glide straight back.
Okay, so in New Zealand you have famous ridge flying like this one. Is it a famous one to go back in south?
Oh, I think it's reasonably flown reasonably often, but I just know it as a landmark. Like it's something you can see from a long way away, and it's kind of got a distinctive look about it. The St. Bathans Range, just northwest of the turn point.
Okay, it's not as famous as the parcours or La Voie Royale in Les Alpes, which are paths
Oh,
that everybody knows.
no, and it depends a lot on the conditions. Like I think
Yeah, as you explained.
some days you probably wouldn't want to go over that side just because you've got to pass the cross to get back north again, and it might be a bit tricky. I mean, yeah, maybe if you're flying a EB29A, you can do anything you want, but yeah.
Yeah, you can see that at 240 kilometers per hour, they are still climbing because they are following the ridges. Just after turn point 2, we were at 160 kilometers per hour at average speed. I get that it will increase again and again since we are flying the ridges all along to turn point 3. And I know that we managed to fly very fast in the final glide, maybe taking some height before going straight or flying other ridges, we will see. So some pilots didn't flown following the ridges, but they flown straight to turn point 3. We have M2K, thank you, some Marcin Riege going straight, autopilot all along, 250 kilometers per hour. Robert, and I think we saw Jarmo, yeah, Jarmo Karlinen, just after them, these 3 pilots. So they need a bit of altitude because we have some kilometers flatlands. And looking at the average speed of the hill part of the race, it seems that it will be difficult to catch up taking thermals because they are almost flying at VNE straight and not going down. So I think it's quite impossible to catch up when you fly thermals because you always have times where you stop and you have to climb.
Yeah, when you're thermaling, half the time you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. We will see. It will be very interesting. Marcin and Jarmo took an interesting decision. Maybe they need to do their own way or to try something to catch up and to win, because any points is important. Tonight, this is 1,000 points race. And just to give you an idea, Jarmo Karlinen is 6th position at the overall ranking. And there is only 250 points to get another place. So every point is important in this race. And we are with Jan right now, following the ridges. So we are again in another landscape right now. The hills are way lower and way less dangerous than before. And we are crossing. We will cross some mountains we saw on the first leg, because we can see that the start airfield. So Omarama is on the back of the screen right now, and turn point 1 was just below us. So yes, thank you, team. We are crossing the first leg. And Marcin trying to catch some great thermals just below the cumulus. Maybe with this type of dolphin flight, he will manage to catch up the next ridge. And maybe it was this strategy. Okay, so right now, as the hills are lower, it should be a bit trickier to follow the best energy line. Marcin May is going straight, maybe trying to go catch the cumuluses, and Vito, Donzac, and the others are following the small ridges, but looks that they have enough energy to continue flying and not losing energy and not losing height. And do we have any message on the chat? Not now. Maybe, Tim, on the 2D view, we can see a bit the pilot on the back, because we have Tim Madsen a few minutes ago took another decision than the other pilots. Maybe we can try to find him. So on leg number 2, going north, he went a bit on the right, following other ridges than the other pilots. And now TKM, okay, I've seen it. He's on the left right now. He catch up well the other pilots. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, thank you, Tim. Yeah, he's quite well placed. I can't see his altitude right now, but it seems that he catch up the other pilots without losing so much time. I was afraid about it, because when he took his decision, it was very different from the other. Thank you, Tim. So
it is straight along the course line, but yeah, it's not a huge detour the way the other guys are gone. So yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
But the other guys will be able to follow the St. Bathans ridge, and he would have to deviate if he wants to get onto that ridge. So I assume he's going to keep flying straight along the course line.
Okay, so just to be sure, you think that the pilots on the left, led by Marcin May, will continue going south straight to join the ridge we can see on the left of the track, and Marcin, Jarmo, and the pilot on the right will try to catch up the mountains a bit on the right of the track. Is it correct?
Yeah, I think the guy who's gone straight across the flats, he's followed the yellow course line, and he's probably going to continue to do that. And yeah, the line the other guys are taking, it's taking them to the northern end of the St. Bathans range, which is the one that leads straight to the turn point at the St. Bathans village.
Yeah, I guess that's why they will do. Marcin on the right and Marcin on the left, leading the race right now. 2 strategies. We will see if it pays to cross the flatlands straight, or if the deviation from to the west pays, because the hills are way lower and the energy should be a bit weaker than previously. Okay, so we will.
I don't know that much about it because I haven't flown there a lot, but you can get sort of convergent lines, like I think one or two, because the Merriman Basin is quite large, and there's like small triggers in there, but it does seem to organise it in terms of lift that runs north to south. Yeah, in the basin. I don't know all the details of that, and I don't know how that compares to what's going on in Condor, but yeah.
Yeah, in this type of weather and landscape, I guess you can catch up some better lines than the others. Maybe it's not energy lines like we can expect from real conditions, like all the cumulus are aligned or you are following a path on the ground. But here, as the hills are well placed compared to the wind which come from the west, so from the right on the screen, you are well aligned, and even if the hills are not that high, you can catch up some not positive value, but at least zero, even if you are flying fast. And that amount of energy is very important to gain some points in the final score.
So this hill that he's coming up to now, Martin, I remember spending quite a lot of time here on a scratchy day. Like we'd spent a lot of time flying around the local hill, horrible, close to Amarama, and then crossed a little crossing and then followed this ridge. And if we weren't high enough, we'd have to go back. And we spent a lot of time flying here and then pushing to the west. And in the end, we didn't have enough height and we couldn't make it. Like it was one of those days where it was tricky to get away. But yeah, it is a bit of a divide between like this pass here that he's crossing. Like basically that's a critical part between Amarama and like on the other side is lower country that it's sort of a different basin really. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because the turn point is just behind right here, and it's quite far compared to the position of Martin right here. So he decides to climb to reach the turn points. It's the best decision he can make, because you don't have a lot of hills after this one.
And in the skyline on the right is the St. Bathans Range, where the other pilots will be heading for.
Yeah.
And yeah, this place here, it's common to have glider pilots here. Like it's one of the most common places that you'll meet gliders when you're flying in Amarama, I would say.
Yeah, because from Omarama you are about 10 to 20 kilometers. Is it correct?
Yeah, pretty close. Yep.
Yeah. So you can reach the airfield quite easily, and you can fly the ridges as long as you want. Is it a starting point from Omarama? You can be aerotow to this point and to start your flight?
I think it's unusual that people would aerotow to there because usually you just take a short aerotow, get up on Horrible, which is right next to town, and then fly here as your first crossing.
Okay.
If you were going to go for a longer aerotow, you would probably go to Magic, which is that hill where they flew past on the first leg of the task.
Yeah.
Where you're just closer to the bigger mountains. Because it's a reasonable size crossing to get there just by thermals and everything. So if it's a weekday, it'll save you a lot of time to go straight out to Magic. Yeah, I guess people probably have towed there, but I'm not really aware of people going there very often.
Yeah, I understand. There are closer way to do your aerotow. Okay, thank you, Timothy, for this view, because we can see the other gaggle, the other group of pilots on the western option. So we have Martin May, we have Vito Drozak, Arne Martin, we have yeah, Juliette Alpha Mike, I can't remember, the Polish pilot, Uwe Melzer, Donna Pierluigi, Thomas Mayer, Zbitiek, Bigan, Eco-Québec Emmanuel Cartier, a lot of well-known pilots. I will try to find the others.
And in real life, I think if you saw a sky like this, it'd be a real shame to fly for only an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, they are flying. I can't remember the hour of starting, but yeah, it's approximately 1 hour and a half. Yeah. Yeah, so it's 1 hour and 20 minutes flying approximately. And they have flown 250 kilometers, I think, for Mars in May. So we have 67 kilometers left for 317 kilometers race. Maybe you can have a look at the Vario, because they are still flying at the same altitude. Here they are higher on the ridge, approximately on the top. A bit easier to understand for us, I guess.
You know how in CU it can tell you after the flight, like the statistics, the percentage of the time that you spent thermaling, and your average glide ratio, like what you're actually achieving.
Yeah,
I think they would be pretty good for this race.
I think so. Yeah, thank you, team. It is so straight. That's impressive.
Yeah, so it's a really sort of rocky range, the St. Bathans Range. It kind of looks like this big silver thing in the background from the west.
Oh, it's interesting to see Martin going straight. He will turn the turn point, but at what altitude? He looks lower than the other Martin from the other view, way lower. But from this point of view, it's why the case, I think. I will see the different heights. So my 2 kilo is 1,800 meters, and Marcin May is 2,250 meters. So approximately 500 meters, the difference. It's a lot at this moment of the race. I get.
Yeah, and when you're saying he's low, he's only just left the ridge as well, you know.
Yeah. We'll see, because this amount of energy may allow Marcin May to turn point 3 and go fast to the hill, fast back to the hill. Compared to the other Marcin, maybe he will need to slow down a bit, having a better glide ratio to join back the hill.
So Martian coming from across the valley, he may have to get onto the St. Bathans Ridge, the same one the others have come down, to get some height to get back. Oh, but I wonder if the other guys are planning on going the same way back until they've got enough height to push off on the final glide.
Interesting. You think that it's an option to take the other way back? We will see. Marcin May speeding 260 kilometers per hour in this EB29. I don't know how many kilometers to turn point 3, but just a few of them. Okay, and with the difference of altitude, Marcin May will turn it in the first position. Okay, so turn point 3 is there. Race 15 of the FAI World Series 2023 in New Zealand. Marcin May turning turn point 3 in first position. Great job,
So
Marcin.
he's turned to the left.
And this is it. He's going straight to the ridge. Next, Witold Rozak following Marcin May approximately at the same altitude. The
I
first,
wonder what Martin needs to get over that pass, like what glide he needs to get over the pass from here.
okay. Witold turn 180 degrees, going back.
Has he not got the turn point?
He turned the turn point.
Okay.
But Marcin May went to his left, and Witold just a half turn, go back to the ridge.
Same St. Bathans Ridge, yeah, righto.
Yeah, and Marcin might took
Different strategies.
on the lowest part. He's doing the same. Arne Martin going south on the right. Uwe Melzer to Donna Pierluigi going south. It's here. We will see the other pilots. Michel Bigan, Thomas Mayer, Jan Meriting going south. So only two pilots.
At the start of the race, there was some divergence of where people went, but a lot of it's been following the same ridges and flying at V&E pretty much.
Yeah.
But here it's really different decisions that you can make, I suppose. Yeah. Dividing things up right at the end.
Yeah. And in the overall ranking, so Marcin May is in the 9th position. Witold Rozak is 4th. So maybe he's playing points. Maybe he tell himself that if you want to grab some points more, you need to take another decision than the other, because if you stay just behind Marcin May, you won't have any opportunity to win, because you will have approximately the same altitude, the same amount of energy all along the way to find a glide. So he's taking a risk, taking another decision, and we'll see if it pays. So again, another parameter to set up is the angle you will join the ridge, because if you are flying like Arne Martin and Donna Pierre a bit on the left, you will join the hills maybe later on, but more on the left compared to Uwe Melzer and Marcin May here on the right.
Yep.
It depends on the lift you will find on the ridge, but you can't know it before joining it. So
depends a bit on how much height you've got to burn as well. I would probably try to aim to hit the top of the ridge, because that's like your best bang for buck in terms of lift normally.
Yeah.
So you can fly fast as long as you hit the top of the ridge. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah, Marcin May seems to be in a great position, almost at the top. Yeah. Compared to Arne Martin Gettler and Donna Pierre, maybe they will join the ridge a bit lower, and they will find just weaker. Oh, Arne Martin is just above. Yeah. Donna Pierluigi. They are pushing.
Yeah.
Okay, Witold Rozak slowing down. The negative value meter. Okay, so the speed is way lower than the other side. On the other side with Marcin May, Arne Martin, and Donna Pierluigi. I think that the green arc for them is stopping at 250 kilometers. They don't want to go slower than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vitol Rozak, very, very interesting decision because the way to turn point 4 looks longer in this path, and he's flying slower.
Yeah, I would have thought that ridge would work a little bit better than it seemed to be, but
Yeah,
he's gone away from it now. He's pushing on.
maybe Tim, you can show us what Vitold is looking just in front of him. Okay, so maybe he's leaving the best part, which is on the left right now. Or okay, all right. He decided to leave the ridge.
There's a smaller kind of ridge that he's
Yeah.
following. Should be the sunny side.
Yeah, but it's downwind from compared to the hills, just in the bottom of the screen. So
Yep.
and he's pushing 270 kilometers per hour. So we are right now on the final moments of the race 15 of the FIA World Series in New Zealand. After turning the turn point 3, first group of pilots joined the ridges on the right. A few of them went back to the ridge on the left. All these decisions have the same goal, is to finish first at this race. And Marcin May, Vitol Rozak, Daniel Pierluigi are competing for the first place. No time to lose, average speed to gain. The end of the race is not decided yet. We can't see who is going to be first. Marcin May following the different ridges to turn point 4. (220 kilometers per hour). Going a bit slower, maybe to finish this ridge safe. Arne Martin Gettler just a bit lower, but pushing. He wants points, just as any competitor in this race.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out though, is it? Like if you're not in the lead and you're taking more risks to try and get ahead, if you take more risks, there's more chance you'll make a mistake and end up further behind.
Exactly, but if you are leading and you do not make mistake, the other will have a lot of trouble to catch up. So it's sometimes a great decision to have the lead. During the final of the Sailplane Grand Prix in Pavolo in Italy, we saw great decision making. And one time a pilot decided to do a complete different strategy from the other, and he managed to win the race just with this one decision at one time. He leave the group, and it was the best thing to do. Can't remember in which races it was, 3 or 4 races.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like when it works so well to follow the gaggle, usually your best strategy, at least if you want consistency, is to fly with the gaggle. But you only need to make one good decision different to everyone else to get that extra lead, don't you?
And I think we have an example right now, because Vitold, we saw that this decision was not that great. On the ridge, it was not that okay, not great positive values. It didn't push very hard. He was flying at 130 kilometers per hour. But right now, Vitol Rozak is leading the race in front of Marcin May, maybe just a few meters lower. But we will see if he pays. He was the only one taking his decision in the first gaggle of pilots that arrives at turn point 3. He is now leading 284 kilometers per hour, not joking at all. And Marcin May following him approximately at the same speed. you know, at this type of speed, I don't know if you are reaching the flutter of the wing or if you are burning the wing at first. With the drag, maybe the wing start to melt because you are flying too fast. That's amazing to see this type of technology.
I had a look online and I saw to buy these wings, it's only like 16 euros or something. So I guess if you break it, it's not that big a deal, eh?
Yeah, I guess. What a move from Witold Rozak. Decided on his own, like a Paul Hanson cowboy, flying back to the ridges, and now he's first. Great move. Marcin May should be just a few meters after him, and maybe we will see at the end, because you can see that on the right you have turn point 4, and on the left you have the finish point. So the name is quite tricky because it's finish, start, finish. Okay, but this is a finish point. I can show that. So they have to turn the turn point 4 and going straight to the final glide. Oh, they are on final glide, but to the finish. And this will be close because Witold Rozak just a bit lower, need to avoid the mountains, getting a bit larger turn. Marcin May get a shortcut because he has a bit more attitude. Going over the mountains, 250 kilometers per hour. Witold not losing time, 290 kilometers per hour. Wow. That's Star Wars, that's not glider. Okay.
Yeah, that's faster than someone in free fall, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Witold Rozak will be the first to join the turn point 4 just before going to the finish line. So they have only 4 kilometers after turn point. So yeah, Witold Rozak turning the last turn point, the turn point 4, in first position, followed closely by Marcin May. Marcin May a bit higher, pushing to the VNE, the EB29, to the final points and the finish line.
So the last race, it was just the placing that mattered, but you said this time it's regatta, so it's how far you are ahead gives you more points. Is that how it works?
So it was just the start who was regatta start. So
okay.
when the gate is open, all the people need to go because they are losing points. But the scoring is speaking about the speed. So this racing scoring, but it was a regatta start, a bit tricky. And Witold Rozak, they need to go through the finish line at 619 meters. It will be okay for Witold Rozak. Great move at the end of this race. Solo pilot to make a half turn way back to this mountain. And Witold Rozak just win the race 15 of the World Series 2023 in New Zealand. Congratulations, Witold. Marcin May, what a race for both of you. To EB29 at VNE. And they both cross the finish line at safe altitude. Marcin May, second of this race. Arne Martin Gettler should get the third position, complete the podium. Pushing the EB29 at the limit. And maybe team, you can show us who is following Arne Martin, if there are any others pilots. Okay, so Donna Pierluigi is the next one.
I think he came fourth in Japan as well.
Yeah. He he did a real great race in Japan. I think that Donapierre Luigi was on the 3rd place there. And Martin getting the 3rd place and complete the podium. Great flight. Thrilling until the end. Donapierre, great performance. Another time, 2 in a row, getting the 4th place. He will have some points. And after Donapierre Luigi, who is leading to take place number 5? Thomas Meyer. Oh, it was close with Donapierre. It was close. He tried until the end. Mikko Nurminen, Mike X-Ray for the 7. Uwe Melzer for the place number 8, I guess. Jan Meriting from Germany for the place number 9. And after that, we will have the pilot number 10. Great flight from all. Zbigniew completes the first 10 position. Zbigniew from Poland, a member of the Polish gang. Connor from Great Britain. So yeah, in the comments, please congrats all the pilots who offer a great show tonight with a lot of great ridge flying. Maybe Tim, you can show us the average speed at the end of this race. After 10.2, we were at 160 kilometers per hour. 184 kilometers per hour for Witold Rosak, 183 for Marcin May, 181.6 for Arne Martin. That's a lot.
I'd like to go and wiggle out and see if I can find any speeds that high for flights in New Zealand. There will be some fast ones, but that'll be because of wave. I don't know if there's any thermal flights.
Yeah, I guess. You can have two reasons for that. Maybe the Condor pilots are way better than real pilots, or the weather should be a bit different. Okay. Okay, so thank you to all the pilots joining us tonight. 50 pilots flying in New Zealand. That's a lot. It's always a pleasure to comment these races. Gerb is completing the arrived pilots. Okay, so what did you think about this race, Nick? About the weather, the average speed, etc.
Oh, I've talked about the weather a bit already. Like one of the really interesting things about New Zealand, as I said, is the mountains aren't so big and the wind can be more of an influence. And there's always different air masses everywhere because the coast is so close in every direction. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a little bit unrealistic to have like clouds like you're in the middle of Australia in the outback somewhere. But made for a really fun, fast race along the ridges. And yeah, you don't have to worry about landing so much as in real life, and you can just go for it. You can just push. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how things change with the new version of Condor. I know they're going to change how the weather works, and this, yeah, I don't know all the details, but yeah, for me, a lot of flying is sort of understanding nature and discovering how it all works. And it's a little bit weird when the nature's just simulated. So yeah, but it's nice to see the same areas again, and there's still tactics, and yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was maybe a great day in New Zealand because the weather in Condor looked really great. We saw it with the average speed, wow, which is very great. In Condor 3, I hope and we look forward to have this type of opportunity as the task setter could have way more complicated weather. And it will be very interesting to fly, way more realistic, as you said, and we look forward for everything. So thank you to all the pilots, the task setter, the people who are working on the landscape. It's not that easy, it's difficult, so thank you everyone for this. I have one thing more to add. The next race and the last race will be in Australia the Saturday, the 16th of December, and it will follow the last race of the World Gliding Championship. So we'll be at the same time as the real Gliding Championship, I have to mention. So yeah, look forward for this last race of 1 year of World Series. It was a long journey all around the world, and it ends in Australia in a few days. Thank you
That's
very
right. And
yes.
just going back to real life, like there's been a lot of rain in Australia in the previous weeks, but they've successfully started the competition with, the second task was earlier today. So
Yeah, I saw that. A lot of kilometers flown in each competition class. I guess it was I think it was 400 in the kilo class today. So just amazing to see. And I follow this during the night, but fortunately, when we fly in virtual races like that, it's earlier for me, so I can follow wake. Thank you very much, team. Thank you for commenting with us tonight.
thank you.
Have a great day and see you next time.